Don't stress, live life one day at a time. Don't drink or drug and you'll be fine.
Hey, welcome back to Staying Sober with Papa Joey. It's been a while. I took the month of January off, had some work to do, and I'm finishing up a book. It's almost done, and I'll talk to you about that in some upcoming podcasts. But right now, I want to tell you what I plan on doing moving forward. Recently, I've been asked by a couple of people within like the past 6 weeks, probably twice, where somebody said to me, I don't know what's wrong. I just can't stop drinking. I want to stop drinking, but I can't. And, I understood where they were coming from. And when they asked me for advice, the only thing I could think of was tell them what I used to go through. I mean, I thought the same thing for a lot of years. I want to stop drinking. Why can't I stop drinking? The truth was, I didn't want to. That's it. I really didn't want to stop drinking. Up until that point of on August 29th of 1992, when I had my last drunk, I knew I wanted to stop drinking. But that night, I finally realized, or I should say the next morning, that yeah, I'm done. And even though it wasn't a tough decision to make, it was a decision that I had to make. I knew I may have some rough times ahead, especially because of the way I drank, but I didn't want to go back to my old lifestyle. So I just went for it. And as I said, I went to AA initially, stayed there for about 3 or 4 years, mainly because I met some really nice people, and some of them are still friends of mine to this day. Then I just moved on. I understood even before I went to AA that I was done, and because of some of the different books that I read, even while I was drinking, like self help books and everything, I just decided I wasn't going to be that person, the person who drank alcohol anymore. So I kind of turned my life around by saying I'm just a person who no longer drinks alcohol anymore. I didn't like using the term alcoholic. If you listen to any other podcasts, in the past, I despise that word alcoholic and drug addict. And, I'll talk more about that in upcoming podcasts. But basically, I told these people, listen, the reason you can't stop is because you don't want to. Be honest with yourself. If you really wanted to, you would look for some help. And first of all, you would do what other people have done. You don't drink. No matter what, you don't drink. And you guys know, if you listen to this podcast before, that my favorite saying that's kept me sober for years was, I don't drink no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. That means no excuses. People say, well, I got my reasons to drink. Well, there you have it. But they're not really reasons, they're excuses. Same thing if you're into drugs. You choose to use, and then unfortunately, you could pay the consequences. In an upcoming podcast, I will share. I've been wanting to do it ever since I started the podcast. And one of the main reasons for me putting this podcast together was 3 years ago. Well, it's going on 4 years in this July. I lost my oldest daughter to a drug overdose. And it was very difficult watching her over the years decline with her drug abuse. We talked a lot about it. She was always very proud of me. Anytime my sobriety anniversary came up, which is August 31st of 1992, she would say, Dad, she was always proud of me. Dad, I'm so proud of you. When she was younger, she'd send me cards and letters, and she'd always call me. Me and her mom were divorced at the time. She understood why I didn't drink anymore, but she got tied up into the drug culture, and she was in it for about 10 years. And I went through 2 overdoses with her, and the third one took her life. And I'll talk more about that. I tried doing a podcast before on it, but it was just a little too difficult for me to get through. I tried, I couldn't get through it. But I will talk a little bit more about that and what it was like for me. And I know there's probably people listening to this podcast that, unfortunately lost somebody due to drugs or even alcohol abuse. And it's difficult. And that's a reason this podcast is here because, for myself, if I had continued down the path I was on, drinking, there would be no way I'd be alive today at the age of 63. I just know that for a fact. I drank a lot, and when I drank a lot, I did some stupid stuff, smoking as well, and it wouldn't have been a good outcome for me. So this podcast now is going to take a different turn. I'm really going to get more into having other people on the podcast talk about some of the struggles they went through, but how they, were able to overcome, their drinking or their drugging or both. But there's one thing that has always remained constant for me, and it's this. The only thing that'll keep me sober, or I should say, the only story that keeps me sober is my own. And the only story that can keep you sober is your own. If you're still having, struggles with drinking or using, and you happen to, go by my channel and you saw the thumbnail asking why you can't stop drinking, hopefully I can help you just think a little differently, because that's basically what it involves. It involves changing the way you look at the drink and at the drug. I look at drinking as a bad thing. Before, I used to look at it as a good thing, something that I wanted, something I needed, something I thought at times I couldn't live without, until I realized I couldn't live with it. So now I look at drinking as something that I just want nothing to do with. I don't mind going out with people. If they do drink, it doesn't bother me. If I go out with a woman and she drinks, it doesn't bother me, as long as she doesn't get too carried away. And if she does, then it's not a good thing. But for the most part, I let people do their thing. I'll do my thing. I was never one that could just drink. I guess the term would be responsibly. Never. And I don't think I could ever drink responsibly. So that's why I never went back to drinking. Also, what I'm going to do is go through the 12 steps of AA one at a time. And it'll be a short podcast, probably 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And I'll talk about it as the way I interpret what it means and what I've heard others, years ago in the rooms of AA say. And there's some good things that you could pick up from it. And then there's some stuff like what I heard, I'd go, I don't really believe that, but which is okay. It just didn't do anything for me. And again, I always say that I don't care how anybody gets sober or stays sober as long as they do. So come on back to the podcast. And I look forward to everybody maybe checking out the 12-step podcast I'll be putting out. Also, I have some people that want to be on the show. We'll talk about some of the challenges they went through and how they maintained their sobriety. And a couple of people I'll talk with that actually ended up going back out again and then created some havoc in their life, and then they're sober again, and which is a good thing. So stay tuned, please. Hit the subscribe button and like. I need to get the reach out since I've been away for a little while, and we'll talk to you really soon. And once again, thank you for coming back. Bye-bye.
Think about your serenity. Be grateful for your sobriety.